So, you may remember last week we've done a couple of videos about Tommy Robinson. Well, don't worry. This does have something to do with Tommy Robinson, but this is, again, something I don't think Mr. Robinson likes to acknowledge, nor does he, like to bring it up. So, I'll leave a link to the story we're reading below. It's from the Manchester Evening News. So, the story begins like this. A top lawyer who overturned a decision not to prosecute the members of a Rochdale sex grooming gang has told how he needed police protection after he and his family were threatened by the far right. Nasser Afrezel, I think that's how you say it. Afrezel, I think that's how you say it, I'm not 100% sure, found himself the target of a campaign of hatred, even though his decision as Chief Crown Prosecutor of the North West to believe the victims of the abuse to mount a prosecution led to the jailing of 9 members of a Rochdale sex gang back in 2012. Remember, Tommy Robinson didn't leave until 2013. So at this time, he's still in charge of the EDL. Now the father has spoken following a BBC drama about the case, 3 Girls. Quote, "What the film doesn't show is what happened to me afterwards, because the far right decided to go after me. I challenged their narrative. Their narrative is that all minorities are the same," he told BBC Northwest Tonight. So when they discovered that a member of a minority brought the prosecution in the first place, they decided to create lots of fake news about the fact that maybe I was involved in the early decisions not to prosecute, when I didn't even live in the northwest of England. It led to thousands of emails calling for me to be sacked and deported. It led to an English Defence League demonstration outside my home. So I wonder how much, considering how much Tommy Robinson cares for, these, Muslim paedophiles to go to jail, decides to go after the guy who decided to believe the girls in the first place and actually go after these people and prosecute them. You'd think Tommy would love this guy, but here he is in 2012, probably and certainly having, organising a demonstration outside his home. Anyway, we continue. It led to Nick Griffin doorstepping me outside my office. It led to my children having to go in a taxi to go to school for 2 weeks because of the security threat that it was. Watching the TV programme reminded me how painful it was, but at the same time my pain was nothing compared to those victims who weren't believed and who suffered for years because they weren't taken seriously. He describes how the threats affected his family life. He said, "I had a police officer walking up and down my street outside my home. I had to tell my children that the Prime Minister has a police officer outside his home to make them feel more secure. My family were very much on the radar of the far right. They decided the only way they could keep the issue of ethnicity going was to attack me. Their attack on me led to weeks of real pain. They were desperate to undermine me and to hurt me. Even President Obama and the Prime Minister got a letter calling for me to be sacked and deported. I did all the right things. It was not what I expected. I wasn't prepared for it. It was nothing compared to what the victims had gone through. I was just doing my job. It was 5 or 6 years ago now, but the film brought it all back to me." So here you have the far right, at the time, the EDL. Remember, Tommy Robinson at this point is in charge of the EDL. He had to have known about this protest. There's no way he didn't know. He also probably had to sanction it. I wouldn't be surprised to go back and find out he might have even been at that protest. Did he have any involvement in this? Because remember, this is a guy who supposedly cares so much about, bringing to light these prosecution of these, people. Then why did the organisation that he was in charge of decide to go after the guy who was prosecuting them? And there's only one reason you can come to, and that was they went after him because of his ethnicity. And that is still why, to this day, you should not trust Tommy Robinson at all. Oh, before we go, this is what I've been telling people constantly, over and over again. He's a dog whistler, pure and simple. He doesn't have any solutions. You know, if he does, I'd love to sit down and talk to him about what these supposed solutions are. What he is doing is he's trying to spread fear and hatred. Get you to fear Muslim people. Now, in the other videos, people come and say, oh, but look, you look at the Asian community, they're doing all this, you know, child sex exploitation. Well, guess what? If you want to do the numbers, whites do it far more, increasingly far more than the Asian community, the black community. By the way, the black community are at the same levels as the Asian community, by the way. You don't see Tommy Robinson going after them. I wonder why. And yet, no talk when it's a white paedophile that does it. And in that last week, when he was being arrested for going after and filming these guys outside the court and trying to film them inside the court and film court proceedings, guess what had happened? There had been 2 white paedophiles in the national newspapers that week alone. Not a single word from Tommy Robinson. So I wonder, would Tommy Robinson condemn these actions? And I wonder, to ask Tommy Robinson, did he have any, did he sanction this protest that went on outside this guy's house? I'd be interested to know that. I'd be interested to know if he'd still sanction a protest outside this guy's house now. Just a question I would love to ask Mr. Robinson.